Hello. Welcome to a special live episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Nikki C. Here, I have some amazing ladies in the green room where we are going to have a special conversation today, a topic that kind of stemmed from just a regular connection call that to me felt like it needed to give me 1 second. Kind of stemmed from just a regular connection call that this happens to me all the time where I forget to mute my actual pages here because I do it from my phone, but we are here and I am excited to bring this topic to everyone here. Give me one moment. Yes. Okay. Got it. We're ready. So again, just a simple conversation about what is the question behind the question. Like, what are you really asking? It's so important that sometimes when we get into conversation and communication and we're given a question for us to answer, sometimes the question doesn't even make sense if people are really paying attention, if they know you, if they know what you're doing. Sometimes it's just mind-blowing the type of questions we get asked each and every day, but are those questions the real questions that people want to ask us? So I'm going to bring up our first guest, and she and I had a conversation about a week or two ago, and we said we needed to do this live, and she was just on our Ladies of Leadership call on Monday, introducing herself, or maybe Tuesday, but we are here, and I'm super excited to have her on, and let's bring up Sherry. How are you, Sherry?
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Nikki, for having me. I'm excited about this conversation.
Yes, yes. And you are so welcome. Thank you for even sparking that conversation. And we'll get to exactly the question that was asked of you that actually kind of gave me chills and say, wait, I felt this too. Let's see how many people are feeling the same exact way. So first of all, tell us who you are. Where are you tuning in from?
Sure. Sherry Leopold. I am from Springfield, Illinois, and I am the founder of the Wow Warrior platform, among
Awesome.
other things.
Among other things, which
Many
was
other things.
amongst other things, which was the question that sparked our conversation. So you're a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You do anything you want when you want. And what was the question that was asked to you that really kind of make you take a step back and say, what do you mean? Go
Right.
ahead.
So because I do a lot of different things and been in network marketing for 26 years and a variety of things, somebody said, "What are you doing now?" And it was like, there was maybe it felt like, and maybe it was my interpretation. I totally 100% will own that maybe it was my perception of the way it was asked. I don't think so, but I thought there was like some maybe sarcasm that came with it. And so I simply said, I do what I want, when I want, with who I want, from where I want. Like, what's the point? Like, I was like, and I'm like, I had the question that we just talked about was like, what is it you're really asking me? Like, is it uncomfortable for you because I'm an entrepreneur, not click punching a clock and working a typical 9 to 5? Is it bothersome for me? I mean, like, that was the thing. I was like, I really didn't know what it was she was asking. So I was like, okay. So it did cause me to stop and think a minute about that and say, what did she really mean by that? Right. And so it was an interesting conversation. I don't think she expected my answer to be that. I can say that. Uh, but it's true. I mean, and that's that for me, that's my juice is I do what motivates me and makes me happy and allows me to stand in my purpose, whatever way it looks. If it's confusing to someone else, so be it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to get to some other questions. So we have a panel that we've invited from our community, and we're going to kind of get their thoughts on some of the questions that they may have been asked. Or even if they were the askee, and what did they really mean behind their questions? However, we want to share it. We have Maritza, Addie, and Julia with us today. Let's bring them right on here. Hello, ladies. Welcome, welcome. All right, we're going to go to Addie first. Please share your name and where are you tuning in from?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Nikki, for having me. Woo-hoo! Wepa, mi gente. I'm calling from Puerto Rico, beautiful island of Puerto Rico. We are at 88 degrees today. So it's a little cloudy, though. I am a hemp representative of the USHBA. I'm into hemp fashions, hemp lime, anything that's going to be sustainable for the world. And I am all for zero carbon in our environment. So it's healthy for me, it's healthy for you. And I've got a really good question for you guys today.
Oh, can't wait. Julia.
Hey everyone, my name is Julia Gandy and I'm calling in from New Jersey. I have been in the wellness space for almost 25 years now. I think it is 25 years. I can say that I started in the last century. It was 1999 when I started my wellness business, and yeah, I've done a lot of different things and have been in a lot of different arenas. I used to bartend, I used to be a waitress, I used to do all kinds of stuff. So I've been asked a lot of different questions, and yeah, some people I've had to put in their place, but yeah, I can't wait to have this conversation. And my community is called the Gathering Haven with Marilyn Morales, so we can discuss all that later.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I am part of the council of the Gathering Haven, and I'm super excited to jump in on that and be of service. So definitely check that out. And we now have our voice, everyone's voice. I love this woman. That is Maritza, because she's actually on duty right now, just doing her thing, and I love it. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Maritza Gertie. I am hailing from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm actually in the city right now. I was at City Hall. I have been an advocate, activist for well over 2 decades. And I made a decision, a forced decision, after having so many years of advocating and promoting the work and mission of other organizations. I am now independent. So I am now making sure that the truth is told, it is transparent, it is inclusive and equitable. And I am still going to advocate and activate others that feel like they don't have a voice when it comes to their rights, their children's rights, their families' rights, especially with a focus on education. And I'm also a host of a podcast called Looped In with Maritza, where I bring anyone that I come across that I find is very interesting, whose story needs to be told and shared.
Amazing. If let's also welcome our online viewers. We have Christina Roman, that is tuning in from Tampa, Florida, and we have Tony Marie tuning in from Tennessee. Welcome, ladies. It looks like we have an extra person. People will watch this on the replay, so if you do, just put #replay. Give us your thoughts, because this is huge. This is a huge topic that we kind of don't even talk about, only in the conversation with the person. And then it either leads to a discussion, it can lead to an argument, or it can lead to something that we could have prevented if we just asked our real question, right? So we're going to go around the room. I don't know if you want to ask a question or if you're going to say what question it was and kind of explain how you had to respond. We're going to talk about positive questions first, and then we'll go into like the negative questions, the sarcasms and things like that, or whatever you have on your mind. Now, Sherry, will come to you last. So think of another question that you were asked. So I'm going to go to Maritza because she's already there as well. So Maritza, and then we'll work our way backwards.
A question that I get asked a lot is, how do I do it? People always see me in a lot of different places across the country, across my city. And I mean, they know I'm a mom. I have 5 children, 3 are grown, and I have 2 little ones. And they're like, "How do you do it? How do you do it?" And I say, "Well, I have a very encouraging partner. My husband is the one that tells me, just go do your thing. I know what you're doing. He likes what he loves what I do. And he always tells me whenever something comes up, I have I got the home front down. I got it. Just go do your thing. Come back and, just make sure you cook when you come back. And that's all he cares about, that I cook, and my kids too. Mom, when is she coming back? But the fact that I have a very encouraging and nurturing partner at home, he's the best and allows me to do the work that I do and I enjoy.
Awesome. So what is your interpretation when you get asked like that? Have you been asked in different forms? And what does that look like? Is tonality a difference in your response? Share a little bit
Yes,
about that.
yes, absolutely. It depends on who's asking. Like, some of my family members, well, my mom, she is not used to what I do. She doesn't think it's a real job. She, like culturally speaking, and I'm Afro Latina, I'm Dominican, first generation. My mom was not, although she's loud, volume wise, she was never really vocal about advocating for herself. And I saw that. And when she sees me out here, whether it's in person or virtually, she sees me on a panel, she sees me at a conference, she's like, "What are you doing? What do you do?" So I always find myself having to re-explain, "Mom, this is what I'm doing, and you get paid for that?" I was like, "Yes, that's the goal, to get paid for what I do." But she doesn't understand, and I think it's for her is a generational thing. My children, they're fully supportive. They're like, "Go ahead, Mom." They see me. I've taken them to meetings with me, so they understand more. And like I said, my husband. So it's been, for friends and people I consider colleagues that are in the work, they fully understand. For others, they just think, "Oh, she's always flying here and going there." They think it's glamorous, but they don't realize there's a lot of work that goes into it as well.
So good. So good. So true. But I love that you bring up your mom as an example, because my mom actually asked me, is what you're doing legal? I said, "Mom, do you think I'm committing fraud here or something?" Like, I went, got an education, got my certifications, and I'm paying it forward, but it's my time. It's, my effort. If I would have went to a job for 8 hours, I would get paid for that. Right. And that's not even my stuff. So it's totally true when it comes to like the generations that just don't understand how entrepreneurship works. And my response when someone tells me, and the difference in tone, like if someone says, "I don't know how you do it," but in a way of they're expressing that they value you, they value that what you're doing is important and stuff like that. But then it could also be, the hidden meaning could also be, how are you doing this, but you're not doing that? And whatever that is could be something different, right? So that could be a hidden meaning. So we're going to talk about hidden meanings behind some of these questions, and I'm going to lay out some stuff like in between. But that's just a perfect example. Thanks for sharing, Maritza. Stay there because we're not done with you. Julia, you are up.
Well, similar to Maritza, I get asked, like, how do you do what you do? And because right now I work per diem as a hospice massage therapist. So I go in, that's where I just was, at a facility. I'm on my way to another patient. And I give and offer massage at the end of life. And a lot of people, when I tell them what I do, um, it's like, oh, how do you do that? How, that must be so hard. And to me, well, my answer has always been, it's an honor for me to be able to be invited into a family's home, or to provide care for a person in a facility that may not get good touch or a lot of one-on-one time, right? So it's an honor for me that first and foremost. But I think, to kind of allude to what goes on behind that question is, or their statement is that there's such an uncomfortability around that time that people are uncomfortable. And that's what it's what we want to talk about, what we want to get to within the work that we're doing with the Gathering Haven, is just to be able to have a life well lived while you're living it, so that when you get to that point in your life where, at the end, that you can look back and be comforted, that there's it's a beautiful time of life. And when you can have it as a beautiful time of life, you almost have to prepare for it. But it's a very interesting, when I tell people what I do, I always get that kind of reaction. So
yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's so true, because sometimes some of the work that we do, it's taxing. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of time. We put our hearts and passions. I know each and every one of you personally, to say you're working hard on, making a difference in this world. And what does it matter? How can I do that? Right. The fact is that we're making impact. The fact is that we are doing it in a way where all the pieces have to be filled in by another piece, right? So you are part of each of your piece and why you do what you do. So thank you so much for sharing. Addie, you're up.
Hello. Nice to be here. The positive question: what is hemp? What is industrial hemp? And I got that a lot. I started researching industrial hemp in 2019, and I invested in myself $57. And that is very significant, because in 2019, at this event held by Yale University Business School, when I used to live in Connecticut, I didn't know what I was getting into. And so I went there and I was looking and I saw and I loved it. And I felt like this is it. I have been back and forth where do I belong and who am I and why am I doing what I'm doing? But I wanted something very significant, something that's very impactful. And before meeting BALM GLOBAL, Nikki and I are related. And so behind the scenes, we all know what happens behind the scenes. So we all were talking about this, but I still had this hemp thing in my head. And I would talk to anybody that would want to listen or didn't understand what I was saying. And they were looking at me like I had three heads. Well, fast forward, I've been with BALM GLOBAL for more than a year and a half now. And we're going on 2, right? We're going on 2. And I can't tell you how my life has changed forward in the focus of industrial hemp. I am now a representative of hemp here in Puerto Rico. I want to bring the industrial hemp to our people here at the island. And the question is, what is industrial hemp? Well, 5 years fast forward, we are now saturating the US. We are now almost, not as close as Europe, but we are all over the Latin American countries growing the hemp. Farmers are doing it. We're feeding farm animals. A lot of things can be created out of this, even clothing. I am currently wearing a hemp-made t-shirt. And so I want to bring sustainability to all my family and friends. I keep telling them, I want to build a hemp house for you. Yes, you can live in an actual beautiful house made of hemp, 0 carbon, meaning it sequesters the carbon all around our atmosphere. Why not? Why not go there? And so when they're not, how do I say, up to beat where what's happening, it's because it's suddenly coming in waves. And so when they said, what is industrial hemp today? Well, I could refer to like a whole bunch of other people that are behind me to say this is what we are, and we're going to be here for a really long time, because sustainability is not about me making money off of one idea. It's about me bringing to the humanity what sustainability can mean, not just for your children, but for your children's children.
Yes, absolutely. Christina Roman says, this is news to me, Adelaida. Very interesting. Tony says, hemp is going to be a game changer for anyone dealing with MCAS, autoimmune disease, and mold toxicity. So basically, it's just so much better to breathe, to live in. It lasts longer, and sustainability is really all about how can we continue to take care of our earth, where we're living, where we're at. So thank you so much for bringing that here, love. And
you're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. We are going to Sherry.
Okay, I'm gonna turn the corner here. One of the things that I get frequently, because I do a lot of podcasts and a lot of public speaking and stuff, is I get, how do you, and I have a couple different TV shows and things like that. They're like, how do you get on camera? Like, how do you do that? And I know that it's not a shade question. It's literally an actual question of how do you, and I think maybe the real question behind the question is, how do you have the courage to do it, or the wherewithal to do it? But I always find it interesting. People do get so nervous doing this kind of thing, and I don't. And I don't know if it's a personal thing, but I think when I come to something like this, I feel like it's of service to somebody else. I'm not here necessarily to be seen. People may be looking at me, but I don't think about people looking at me. I think about, how can I serve somebody or help somebody? So that's really not even in my mind. But it's a very interesting question to get, and I get it a lot. I don't know how you can stand up on stage. I don't know how you can go in front of the TV or the screen and not be nervous. I don't know how you can run a show. I don't know how you can interview people. And it's a very frequent question. And I'm like, I don't stop to think about whether I should do it. I just do it.
That's such a good one. And you know what? 100,000% transparency here. Like, it's hard for me to go live, to even start. Like, I have all these ideas, all these topics I want to talk about, and it's like it's just hard to go and hit that red button and just say, I'm going live, I'm ready, unless I have a talking point, right? Unless I have my bullet points and I know what I'm going to say, and I know the mission, whether it's announcements, updates, acknowledgments. But when it's really me and just really my thoughts and getting to know of me, it's the challenge that I'm going to put myself in, because I'm saying it right here, right now. So you guys are all listening to it. But a lot of people wouldn't believe that, because when I do go live, I'm at 100 and I'm excited because I love what I do and what I'm sharing, and whatever the thing that needs to get done. But I know that when the red light goes on, it's go time. So you will never see it, feel it. But what goes on behind the scene is a whole lot different. Let me tell you, it's a whole lot different.
And that's a good point, Nikki, because I think people say, oh, you just look so confident, or you do this or you do that. And I'm like, but that's a learned thing. I'm like, you didn't see the first time I did it. This might be the 5,000th time I've done it, and I think that is a big part of it. And I think you also bring up another really important point is, I can stand up and talk in front of 5,000 people, and I will have some nerves or butterflies or whatever, but and most people don't realize that anxiety and excitement looks exactly the same on a brain scan. And so therefore, it's the meaning that you attribute to that feeling. So if you say, I'm so excited, when you're ready to hit that red button, instead of I'm so nervous, that is literally telling yourself to calm down and enjoy the excitement that's about to happen. But I do get nervous if you told me, come on here, and I don't know what we're going to talk about, or we're just going to start talking. I would have more apprehension. So that's very true for me. If I know what I'm talking about, like if you just gave me a question out of a bag or something, and then I had to go speak for 20 minutes, I would be very nervous with that. But most of the time, I think when we're going in front of a camera, we know what we are, the point we're either trying to make, or, you know, what we're doing in that space. And I think to me, that's what limits the nerves for me, is I know what the impact is I want to have. Like for this, you wanted to open the conversation around the question behind the question, right? So because you knew that, like, diffuses those nerves.
Yeah, definitely. And that's so true. Welcome, Ivy. Ivy is online. She just met us up here. It is so true when we take the that aspect out of it, right? When we kind of try to psych ourselves into doing it, because let's really talk about the results we get when we go live and the impact that we're actually making and the lives that we're actually changing. There's no reason to be scared of that, of what your intentions are going in that are positive, and you know you're good. Even if one person has that transformation with just one line that you say, then you need to continue to do it, scared or not. And I love the fact that you said that anxiety and excitement look the same. They might feel a little bit different because your mindset is on one or the other. But great point. So we're going to go into another question. Is this one kind of baffles me a little bit as well, because this is a negative hidden meaning for me, and it's really, are you sure you can handle that? Tell me what you think is the hidden meaning, and what would your response be today if someone asked you that? We'll start with you, Sherry.
I think my initial thing when hearing that question would be, I would probably ask a question and say, can you clarify what you mean by, can I handle that? And the reason is because I think this is where the fork in the road comes, where this can go, as you said right at the beginning, this can go into an argument, this can go into a good conversation. And that fork in the road question that you ask, can you clarify what you mean by that? Are you saying, am I not smart enough to handle it? Am I not talented enough to handle it? Or am I taking on too much? Like, there is that question and that thought process in their mind behind that question. And if you don't, and you answer and you don't know what that is, you may not actually be answering the question that they were really asking. That was my initial thing, is, clarify what they mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally come back with the question as well, because it didn't make sense to me. Like, my hidden reasoning behind that is, are you doubting my capability of being able to go through with this, right? And if you're my friend, if you're my family, why would that even be a thought in your head about what I'm capable of, right? Only I know that ability. And if I don't know, I'm going to try it. And then I'm going to let you know, yes, I was able to, or no, I wasn't. But you're not even giving me the chance. You're just asking me, are you able to handle it? Instead of, again, how can we change this for those asking these types of questions? The question really is how can I support you in making sure you can do this and making sure this goes through? So thank you so much for that. Love that. Maritza, you're up, love.
That was exactly what went across my mind when someone asked me, am I sure I can handle it? What I immediately move towards is, well, if I can't, are you going to be there to help me? Or are you trying to really, set me up for failure? And I'm not going to, because I don't allow that. My response for someone saying to me, are you able to handle it? I would say, if I see that I cannot, I will definitely let you know sooner rather than later, so that we can both come up with a solution or find a solution together.
Yeah.
That would be what I'd say.
Powerful. Julia.
So when you brought this up at the top, you know, even before when we were all before we went live, what comes up for me is that people ask questions or they make observations based on their own history, their own processing, their own story, right? So I tend to, when somebody comes to me with one of those questions, I look at it as a reflection on them, not on me. So it's almost like, you know, because you know, I do a lot of different things and all of that, and you know, it's kind of goes back to like, how can you do that? Is it's just a matter of them and their story, not me and my story. So I don't take ownership for it, and I don't try to make it personal about me, because it's not. And it, like Jack Canfield says, you know, if somebody comes to you and says, oh, I love your green hair, or no, I'm sorry, I hate your green hair, and you're like, well, I don't have green hair, so why? That doesn't even, it doesn't affect me at all. So it's their story, not mine. So that's,
Yes. Don't marry their question could be really them asking themselves that same question as well.
exactly.
And they just would like your response. So we have to look at it from that perspective as well. So great point, Julia. Great point. Addie, you're up.
Yes, all great points. And when Sherry was talking earlier, Julia answered everything I was thinking. You know, it is sometimes a reflection of themselves when the question or the doubts rise in them. Are you sure you can handle it? I did all of this trekking from 2019 to today in my industrial hemp, and I left everything behind, Sherry. I left my children behind. I got my grandchildren in Connecticut. I've been here for 2 years. I'm going on 3. I'm a survivor of colon cancer. Even during the year of 2020, I was with it here, and I was still doing it. I was still digging forward to be in this industry that I'm in today, representing it as I am for Latinos and indigenous communities. So when that question comes up, can you handle it? Well, this is a very brand new industry. So as I'm moving and trekking forward, I'm paving the way for someone who's coming behind me. So you think that I can't do it? Of course, I am doing it. And with the backup of my ladies of leadership, because I tell you, I could not have done it with that ounce of confidence that they have given me every Monday, every Tuesday. I tell you, I am not a very committal person. As you can see, I'm divorced already 11 years. So committal for me has to mean something. And ever since I started, I give up on stuff. I don't do completions. I walk away when it's not fair for me. And if I'm hurting myself in the long run, yes, I am my very own saboteur. But guess what? I bounce back from that, and I learn from that. And I come to a place where I am not ridiculed. I am not belittled. I am not, looked at and be insignificant, or I'm not smart enough, or I look pretty and I have a great enthusiasm, but that's all you bring to the table? No, I have a brain up here and it works. And I know what I'm talking about. And you can doubt me all you want. But I was asked yesterday, and this fell on me, like we say in Puerto Rico, como un balde de agua fría, like a bucket of cold water. Remember the cold water challenge? Well, I had 2 of those thrown on me yesterday with a question: who do you think you are? I will tell you who I am by my actions. Stay tuned.
I love it. I love it. Have we ever been asked that? Let's go around the room real quick. That wasn't initially on it, but thank you for that question. Julia, have you ever been told, who do you think you are?
I I don't know. I would have to say not in so many words, but you know, it was more like when my father, when I told him that I was leaving the business world because I had my degree from Rutgers and in business, and I was leaving that to go get my massage certificate, and he was like, "Oh, you know, like." I could see like financial things going on in his mind. And then when I came to him with, you know, I was doing aromatherapy, he's like, "What are you doing now? Like, why are you throwing this?" I love my dad. But, you know, it was that like, why are you doing this? You know, why are you changing that? So that, I mean, that is the only thing that's coming up for me is the, you know, again, it's a generational thing of why are you doing this? Why are you throwing away your degree and going into this woo woo stuff? But you know, that was about the closest that I came to that particular sentiment.
Yeah, because that was the question behind that question.
Yeah.
That is exactly what that is. And some of them could be interchangeable when we're having these conversations. I like to just say, what do you really mean? Like, if it's this or if it's that, what is going to be the outcome of both? Like, you have to break it down to me, you know? So I'm like very inquisitive. Like, I want to know where your mind is at when you're asking me these questions. So thank you for that, Maritza. Have you ever been asked, who do you think you are?
Yes. Actually, I was actually asked that question when I was at a women's conference. I was on a panel, specifically a panel for Afro Latina women, and someone actually questioned my blackness. And the last time I had experienced that was well over 20 years ago. Gosh, well over 30 years ago when I first came to Philadelphia, because my parents made sure to instill in me a knowledge of my history and where everyone from my parents' country of Dominican Republic comes from. I know what I identify as. I know what my children identify as. They know their history. I know my history. So when someone questioned my what I am based on colorism, I had to take the higher road to keep it from becoming an all-out brawl. Because if I went back to the old Maritza that was raised in Brooklyn and North Jersey, I would have been flipping tables. But I said I'm an adult. I am a person that is seen in public a lot. I represent a lot of people. So I'm going to rise above that. And I told the person, let's have a conversation. Let's go deeper into what you're talking about, because I let her know I even have a platform. You want to have a whole hour just to talk about it? Let's do it. But I put the response on them. I said, I'm not going to chase you. You made this statement or you asked this question and you wouldn't give me a minute to answer it because you wanted to just put it out there and be combative. I'm going to now challenge you to reach me and we're going to have.
Oh, she's probably getting a call. I hope her phone didn't die.
I'm
There she
sorry.
goes.
Somebody called me. Yeah, but yeah, that and I like questions like that. Challenge me to see where
Yeah.
I'm coming from, and you'll get the response you probably weren't expecting.
Yes, absolutely. Before we go to Sherry, I'm going to just say real quick. Tony said you could also respond by saying, of course, I can. This is from the previous question. I can handle it because I know I can count on your support when things get tough. So you actually put them accountable into that position for even asking the question and see what their response is going to be. That is huge, Tony. I've been trying to get that out and I almost forgot about it. I was like, I want to definitely go to that comment. Um, I never been asked, who do you think you are? I'm blessed to be surrounded by supportive who constantly remind me who I am versus being condescending. Yes, that's why we need to continue to reevaluate the circles that we're in, the communities that we're in, who we're supporting, who's supporting us, so that we don't have to be placed in an awkward position to be asked or to have to ask these types of questions. Sherry, you're up.
I don't think I've necessarily been asked that question like that. I think it's kind of like Ivy mentioned, that the sort of backhanded insinuations maybe has been more where it's come from. But the reality for me is I know who I am, so I actually don't give a flip if you think I'm somebody else or whoever. If you're confused, I am not confused. And I will be happy to, share anything about myself or who I am. I literally, really, truly am an open book, but it's not up for debate, right? Like, it's not a changeable thing. I am who I am and who I choose to be. And therefore, any question about that is going to be going back to the first question: is I am who I choose to be, how I choose to be, with who I choose to be, like that. I am the boss of me. And I teach women all the time. And this is one of the reasons why, because we get what I'm just going to call dumb questions like this. And women they start shrinking. And I teach, I am an unrepeatable miracle. You cannot change me. You cannot tell me who I am, because I am an unrepeatable miracle. No qualifiers. Doesn't matter what you say to me. You cannot change me. I am the boss, applesauce.
Yes,
I
yes,
learned
that
that in
is
a
so
preschool
beautiful.
conference training, and I teach it all the time. Kids always say, "You're not the boss of me," and they're right. Like, I am the boss of me. I'm the boss, applesauce. And that, I think, that empowerment we need as women to help each other stand up and stand out like that. It's a simple phrase: I am the boss of me. And, standing in that power of who you are. And, maybe some people need to find a mentor if they're not sure who they are, to help them, like the ladies of leadership who help solidify who you are. But the reality is, I think we really need to be aware of making sure that we're not inadvertently shaming other people by asking questions like that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. You bring up such a great point on being able to stand in your purpose, right? Being able to confidently say, and I created a "This Is Me" 5-day masterclass that some of our ladies have taken, where we talk about like what our core values are, what do we believe in, what are we celebrating, like really identifying and letting go of those limiting beliefs that have been instilled in us for centuries and a decades or whatever. But really just finding those answers. And that's probably really why they're asking, because they need to know, they want to know. They're just not asking the right questions and how they're asking it. So we need to help them, guide them along the way. Maybe they're just not aware. So we're going to go into this other question. And this comes to like the comparison factor, where have you ever been told, why can't you be more like X, Y, and Z? Whether they're comparing you to a sibling, to a family member, to a idol, or anything like that. Has that ever have you ever even been guilty of saying it to someone as well? So let's again be open, honest, all that good stuff. So we're gonna start with you, Sherry, again, then we're gonna go back around.
I don't know that I've ever been compared like that, because it kind of comes to mind like parents and people like that. I don't think I've ever had anyone do that to me, and I don't know if it's just I'm sitting here thinking maybe I'm just uh a bully about myself, meaning like I am so strong-minded that like I have a shield, I think. Like, I would not take that in. And or people wouldn't put that on me. I don't think. Maybe I don't know I'm not sure what it is, but I I'm fairly certain that I'm very compassionate, so I would have a hard time thinking I would have ever said that to anyone, because I believe we all have our own unique gifts and talents, and we shine the way we were meant to. We all, doesn't matter if we all took the same course, we would all teach it differently because we are all different human beings. And so I think it just comes back to, you know, standing in your own power, and plugging in your own power cord. Somebody somebody goes along and they think you should be going another way, and they run and they trip and they pull your power cord out. You have to have the perseverance, to be who you are, to pick the cord back up and plug yourself back in, plug your own power back in, right? We all have that choice. And I just don't, I don't think that I've ever had anyone compare me like that. I've had it maybe where there are other speakers or different arenas like that where somebody did something or they've said, you should do this. And I'm like, I should do whatever comes from me. Like, I don't want to look at them, and I'm not going to be pushed into looking at other people to change who I am. You know, I am me. And I would just encourage everybody to really stay centered on who you are meant to be.
I love that. And I don't think I've ever been compared that way either, but I have seen it like in movies, in shows, in things that, and that question has always bothered me. Like, why would you want them to be like someone else? They are unique in their own ways. How about we find, again, solutions to provide them, some tools to provide them in order for them to figure that out, right? To figure out who they are so they can stand that in that powerfully. We are going to go with Maritza.
Well, in my world, I try very hard. As a parent, I've tried very hard not to do what my parents did with me and my sister. They compared us. Why can't you be like her, or why can't you be like her? You know, it was always one week it was all about Marissa, the next week it was all about Marisol. So I learned that over the years. But when I became a parent, I make sure that I am purposeful in not comparing my children to each other, because they're all separate individuals. Um, Professionally, I think very highly of myself. Nobody's like me, and if you can't handle my energy, I don't know what to do. There was only one time, I've only had one experience where I was asked to change something about myself, but that was because of the environment that I was working in. My very first adult job, I was working at a battered women's shelter. I used to run groups, and the director of the shelter at the time told me that the women, because of the volume of my voice, felt a little bit intimidated. So
Mm.
she's like, Maritza, I'm not trying to silence you. I just would like you to modulate your voice a little because it does scare them. And this is from a woman that is 6'4". So she said, I know what I'm talking about when I say this to you because I have had to learn that myself. So I took that from my first adult job when I was in my early 20s, and I incorporated to this day in my parenting when my children were young. Just modulate your voice. In my speaking tone, depending on my audience, just modulate my voice. And that is something that has carried me a long way. So for someone to compare me or say you should do this or do that, no, I'm not going to ever. I made a choice never to allow anyone to silence me. Always use my voice.
I love it. Powerful. So, so true. Um, it's the comparison thing again. I've seen it in other families and stuff like that. And um it's so sad to see because I've seen the results at the aftermath of that, where they're, the one that was more favored is as rebellious as the one that wasn't favored. So you're just adding to the potential damage of their mindset when you are doing these things. And even as adults, um, when we're comparing, people are saying, those questions. I mean, that's never ran through my head, but I've seen the results, the aftermath of when you do that, especially when you have children. I think we have a very special guest with us. Let's add Ellis Kirkpatrick to this conversation. Hey, love, how are you? Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, we have about 10 minutes left. We're talking about the question behind the question. It has been absolutely phenomenal, and we'll get to you in a minute. We're talking about the question right now is why can't you be more like blank, someone else? When it's a comparison, these are questions that are asked to us where they're not really asking that, but they're trying, they have a hidden meaning behind it. So we'll ask one more question and then we'll get to you and get a question answered by you. Addie, you're up.
Comparison questions. Well, I was a child that was taken from my birth mother at 3 months old. So I was raised by myself, solo. So many times that question became my biggest cross. Why can't I be more like them? Why can't I have a house and a car and a healthy bank account and, you know, everything's flowing from the outside beautifully? I don't know what, you know, how they got there, but what you have, I want, and I like that. Can I be that person? I've come to the realization that I'm not like the 100% of other people. I've learned that my drum beats differently and it skips sometimes. And I've learned that I have to love myself a lot more than why I am comparing myself or my life, my accomplishments, my achievements are not the same as everybody else's. But then again, I'm not supposed to be like everybody else. And that's a hard lesson for me to get, for me to understand, and for me to comprehend. For a person that was raised with one grandmother and one language, I spoke English, she spoke Spanish. I had no siblings around me. I had no role models behind me. I had no business people behind me. I had no high school graduates with me. Like, can you see why I would want to compare myself to other people? Because I see the lifestyle that they're living, or the accolades or the education. You know, now, after all these years, I'm 55. I've been there and done that. And I have Steve Jobs to look up to. I dropped out of college just like him. I couldn't handle it. I'm not working a 9 to 5. I worked a 9 to 5 to raise my 2 children. And it was the hardest thing in the world, but it molded me into that world of 9 to 5. But even while I worked in a facility where I did groups, Maritza, we need to talk. I did groups for domestic violence and recidivism rates and coming out of prison and changing their way of thinking. I'm sorry, my lighting is a little off right now. And I saw all of that, and that helped me become who I am. And I said, well, I can't pretend to want to be like everybody else. I have to be myself. I have to be authentic. And here in Ladies of Leadership, we've been shown to be authentic is okay. We've been supported to be your original self, and it's okay. And so when you fall into that comparison, I was never compared to brothers and sisters, although I have siblings. I was never compared to, you know, my grandmother never said, well, why aren't you like this other? She never even dared to compare me to no one. She just kept calling me names and degrading me and using negativity to raise me. And that was what I was living with. So to realize who I am today, that's an accomplishment in itself. I don't want to compare myself to no one. I am who I am today, and I'm very proud of it. And I have a second lease on life, and I'm going to tell everyone and show everyone, because I still have one more event to do in my life, which is coming pretty soon, to show the world who really I am.
I love it. Thank you so much for your vulnerability, for just being real and authentic and really just sharing your truth. That's all we can do, right? That's all we're put here to do, is share our experiences, what has worked for us, what hasn't. And instill hope into our audience, those that are listening, those that can make a change, make a shift, that we're all not perfect, and some of us know exactly who we are to our core. Some of us are almost there, some of us are still finding ourselves. When you see that in someone, lend a hand, share them, guide them, provide them at least one tool, get them into a space of an open space that they are comfortable with speaking about these things, that they are able to speak about these things, and just remind them that they can get through it. Thank you so much, Addie, for bringing that topic up. We'll go to Julia and then to Ellis.
Yeah, so comparisons, gosh, because I am always the soft-spoken one, right? I'm always the chill person, you know. I remember when in my former life, when I actually was in corporate America, I was a staffing agent for, I would send temps out to work, right? So I would interview them and send them out to jobs. And so there was me and another woman we both did the same job. We were both personnel supervisors is what we were called. And she was very loud, boisterous, and happy and all this. And I was just like, just chill, like calm. And I was always there, always present, always did my job. But when it came to the time of my annual review, my boss, it was just him and I, and he's like, why can't you be more like her? And I was like, what? And I think I was like 22, 23 years old at the time. And I didn't know how to answer that. I'm like, why would you want me to be fake? That's, to me, that would be not that she's fake. If I was the loud and boisterous in that, then I would be fake. I would be inauthentic to myself. And so moving forward, going into, choosing to be a massage therapist, it's perfect, right? I'm in a dark room. I get to put people to sleep and relax them, and they come out and they love me, and so it's a perfect job for me. But what was now that I'm shifting into more of I'm building my coaching business, right? This was back in like 2010 or 11. I was going through a divorce. I had a young daughter, and I said, I have to like really amp up myself, and I need to get out there and start networking and doing all these things. And it felt like I was being inauthentic again, because I had to be boisterous. I had to be loud. I had to be, that just pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Right. So I chose to be, more, able to get out there and shake people's hands and talk about who I am and what I do and what I can offer and all that stuff. So, but now that I'm, re-engaging myself and re-emerging into doing something else, I'm still being judged. Like, because I'm still like, you need to do this more and you need to do that more, and you need to be like, just like, I am the calm in the storm, right? So that's what I'm. Wow, sorry. This is
no apologies, honey. This is the real call. Yes, absolutely. Just get it out. We are here.
Yeah, it's just like I'm coming back to that, right? That I can be this calm now, that you can come to me and be cared for, right? Without needing to be the loud person, without needing to push, because I'm not a good pusher. I push people away because I don't know how to engage with people without, like, I know what you need. And because I usually do, I can usually, sense what people need. And most people really, they need to be able to disengage. Right. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so all of that is like my journey now is getting to the point where I'm open in my calmness, in my ability to just give people a sense of, I can take a breath. I can stop for a minute. I can stop for a day. I don't have to keep pushing, because when we push too much, we suffer, our health suffers, our sleep suffers, all of that. So, to find that inner peace amongst yourself and within yourself, no matter what that looks like on the outside, you can be, very boisterous and happy and loud, and that's your happy place. And that's beautiful. That's awesome. That's who you are. That's your divine self. Beautiful. And, and if you're quiet and contemplative, and choose that and be that. So it's a matter of really excavating who you are supposed to be to yourself, not to anybody else. What makes your heart shine? What makes your heart happy? When you put your head on the pillow at night, do you fall asleep with a sense of, I did the best me that I could be that day? So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing this this topic up, because it's so true. Because again, it falls back on what people has told us in the past. Like, those things still linger throughout our lives, and we don't know when it's going to shine another light in that area, but we have to be ready for it. Thank you, Julia, for being vulnerable, for sharing. Never apologize for being you. And I know, because we're on this forum, and we don't have to be perfect. We're not perfect. And I love when this happens, because we show the realness of who we are. And so I love your calmness. Like, I can be at ease when I'm talking to you. And when I talk to Addie, I'm on 100, because she's energetic, right? She's like, let's pump it up. And Maritza the same way. But you guys are all uniquely you. And I love every piece about each and every one of you. Ellis is also that quiet, more, oh goodness, I was trying to get to Maritza really, really quick, because I knew she said she had to step off. She is in the city, so we'll definitely get her back on here soon. I think we need to have another one of these panels. I think we need to continue to raise awareness on some of these questions, on some of these things, and ideas that we're all facing on our day-to-day. So I'm going to go to Ellis real quick. I know we're over a few minutes, but we'll go about 5 more minutes until 1:15, and we should be good to go. Alice, how are you?
I'm good. So the question behind the question is, what attribute about that person do they want you to have that they don't see in you? Not that you need to become that, but they're probably looking for something specific. However, that being said, I've had it asked to me, why aren't you? And my answer is, because I'm me. I'm not that other person. I am me. So let me say this real quick. It's the one thing I want to get across to everybody in the world. There is no one like you. There never has been. There never will be. And I know this for a fact, because only you have had to act, react, make the choices that you have made in each and every situation. That is where the value of you comes from. Only you have had to act or react to the choices that others have made that have directly affected you. All of that is your value. And that is so important, because that value is what makes you worthy. And that value and worth is what makes you more than enough, just like you are. Doesn't mean we can't improve ourselves. We can, but you are enough right now. And because of all of that, you matter to the world, because only you can come from the place that you've come from. So when someone says, why aren't you like this person or like that person? Maybe ask them, what is it about that person that you want me to be like? Because maybe it's just something, be a little bit louder, be a little bit more forward. But at the same time, say, because I'm me. And that makes me so wonderful and uniquely me.
Beautiful. Absolutely. We are us. And again, it just goes back to us really knowing who we are and what we want people to see, right? We have to be honest with ourselves that what we do in these spaces, that we're doing it for ourselves as well, when we're alone behind the scenes, when no one's watching, that we're still loving on who we are, the choices we made, the things that we are planning to do. Like, all of that has to flow throughout our day, whether we're on camera or not. And really stepping into that and just raising awareness to just be careful what you are asking people. If you really want to know, if you're really supporting them, if you really want to provide solutions, then you need to be more what's that word? I can't even think of the word right now. You have to be more aware of how you're directing the question. Is it and let's not talk about the environments that we're in, and some of the times that we're getting asked these questions. We can be put on the spot by other people. There's some questions that you just don't ask unless it's between you and them. Let's talk about that real quick. And then let's just answer that question. Has there been a time where you have been asked an inappropriate question on the spot, in the wrong environment? And also, what do you want to leave our audience with on any topic? So we'll go with you, Sherry.
I suppose I have been asked questions like that. It's not coming up like, oh, I remember when. But I think it's gonna tap the same thing. It's, really spend your time knowing who you are. So when you get those questions, they really don't penetrate the same way when you know who you are and you're secure in who you are. So I don't let a lot of, I want to say, water off a duck's back, I guess is what the phrase that comes to my mind. But I'm also not afraid to say, I don't feel comfortable answering that in this environment. And I think that that's fair. That's a fair statement. If you get something, or asking another question, why is it that you'd like to know that? I think, putting the onus back on the person that is asking a question that you feel uncomfortable with, um, makes them clarify why they want to know, and maybe makes them rethink how it might have sounded. And I choose, I think, in those kind of conversations to remain in the, I don't know if I want to say the power seat, but I want to make sure that the dialogue is going to be fruitful for something. Like, I don't go spoiling for fights or arguments. So I would say always ask for more clarification if you get any question. That's probably my overall advice to any of it is: one, know who you are. Two, if you do get a question that sort of pokes you or feels not right, ask a clarifying question so you can make sure that what they really want to know is really what they're asking, so that you give an honest answer to the question, or determine that's a dumb question, I'm not answering it. That might be a thing.
I love them all. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really quick, Addie, you're up.
Yeah, that who do you think you are was the most uncomfortable question I've been asked recently. Unfortunately, the person went from an area of, I'm here and this is mine, and I only asked you to come along. but the subject expert here is me. And so we're trying to combine the two to become one, but you're but the actions are, you're beneath me, is what I got the sense of. You may be the expert in the field, but I'm the one with the power. You may be the one that, has all these 4 or 5 years of experience in whatever you're talking about, but I've got scientists and people that have been in this for 20 years. I'm like, so then what do you need me for? If you got all this and you came to me, you looked for me, and now you're asking me, who do you think you are? Well, guess what? I felt, I had to hold all of my emotions and only surface whatever could come up, because I couldn't hold it back, face wise or eye wise or gesture wise, because I'm a CBT facilitator. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. I've worked with the 5 W's. I'm sure Sherry's probably aware of the 5 W's. And I learned how to work with my emotions on the anger side. Yeah, it's coming a little up in the surface. You know why? Because the last 2 years, I've really become a Puerto Rican. And we'll go that into another story. But to feel some type of way, thinking that you're going into something very, illusioned about it. And then all of a sudden you find out that what's happening here is it hierarchy? Something like that? Like they're hierarching themselves and saying, well, you will never do what you got to do here because I'm here. Oh, excuse me. You don't know who you're dealing with, girl. What? All right, no problem. Check you later. And so I have to take all of my training. I have to take all of my experiences. I have to take my ladies of leadership, my community that's right there, to when I get back from the ring and sit in my corner, so I can have those 2 minutes of rest and drink some water and spit it out and get myself together and recollect it. It takes a lot, but I know I can do it.
Absolutely. But, that was a blessing that you knew sooner than later where their real intentions were. Sometimes, these questions are an eye opener for us. They're the answers that we were looking for. Is this the right fit or isn't the right fit? Unfortunately, it has to happen in a public environment, or people, use their power for not so good things. And that was just them telling you that that's not the person you need to work with.
Yeah,
so we also have to look at
I'm not here for a power struggle. We all have to work together. And so the wording on that behalf says we could work together. It's for the unity. It's for this. It's for that. But like the question behind the question, the behavior behind the behavior also is different.
Yeah, the behavior behind the question.
You got to look at that behavior, because I could tell you all day long, I'm with you, got you, everything's cool. But in my mind, I'm like, no, you're not getting there. It's mine. I want to take it from me. And
or maybe they were intimidated by you, by your knowledge of what they didn't know. And that's another thing we have to battle with as well.
And trying to throw something on top where you're going to try to throw me off. No, I need to stay solid and connected. Now I know I need to stand my distance and not collaborate with you, because it's not working out. And we've only interacted about 4 times.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Great information. Julia, you're next.
I laugh because yes, I'm a massage therapist. So yes, I've been asked uncomfortable questions in not appropriate situations, and it's never the appropriate question. So yeah, and what I did to I've been asked to, like, I got a phone call. This is like 2005 or so, back before really the internet or phones, smartphones and all this. But I was called on my cell phone by a guy who, now I live in South Jersey. So he called me out of the blue because I guess my name was in a massage therapy website or something. And he says, I'm in Philly. Why don't I pick you up on the way down to Atlantic City, and you can give me a massage in Atlantic City. I'm like, no, like the audacity of some people to have these kinds of like just put this out there, right? So, so after one in particular situation, I decided to go into martial arts, right? So I could, no matter what situation, where I was in, whatever capacity I was in, I learned how to defend myself, right? So it was, whether it was I was walking down the street, in the city, or whether I was, having to take my table somewhere, so I learned to protect myself in not only if I'm in a situation, but also to be discerning on a phone call, right? And be able to ask the questions or state my answers to their question without them asking the question, right? Because if there's, like, I would get text messages, do you do a massage? I do a therapeutic relaxation massage. This, and this, and this, and this. And usually if they're looking for one thing, I don't fit that bill, right? So it's a matter of discerning, and really like ramping up your intuition about things, and then protecting yourself for any of the other occurrences. So it's I've got stories.
Awesome points. Yes, awesome points. Thank you so much for raising that topic as well. Sometimes the questions can initiate something that we have not thought about, so that we can prepare for the what ifs, right? For the potential ambush, for the potential challenge, the potential barrier. So we have to pay attention to all of these things. And that's a great way to just active listening. Like, when someone randomly calls you for a massage, like, you don't really know what their intentions are, right? I love the fact that you said, okay, let me make it specific. I'm a therapeutic, you laid it out just that way. And if something doesn't feel right, use your intuition, put the proper measures in place so that you can prevent anything from actually going sideways when that sign was given to you, right? Like, don't ignore those. And I think that's a great point.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Julia. And we're going to go with Ellis, and then we're going to close it out because we are way over time. But this has been a topic that I could not stop you guys in your tracks. And I definitely want to make sure that everyone puts their input in it. Ellis, you are up, love.
Okay. So sometimes I have not in the past realized that it was inappropriate at the time. I know that I felt very uncomfortable. One time somebody asked me something and I go, oh, well, I guess you really put me in my place, didn't you? But the first thing that happens is this whole panic comes over my body. And I'm like, what do I do? And usually the next thing I do is like, Lord, help. How do I answer this? What do I do? I remember one time I answered somebody because I figured they were doing it just to make me look really bad. And how I did it, I don't know, except by the grace of God, I kind of turned it around and made it into a completely different answer than what they would have ever expected. And afterwards, someone came up to me and said, I am so proud of you for not letting them intimidate you and for you speaking your mind. I have no idea what it was about or what I said, but, having that backup, the Holy Spirit backup for you makes a huge difference. And one of the things you can do is, you're thinking, why are they asking me this question? Is it to make them look better? Is it to make me look horrible? And then turn it around, turn it into something else. You know, you might see a pile of manure and think, oh, that is so gross, I don't want it. That's how you look at the question. Or you can look at the pile of manure and say, hey, I need some of that to fertilize my garden, make my flowers look pretty. So take it and put it into something amazing if you can. But yeah, that first panic that you get is like, it can freeze you. Right away, think, okay, Lord, how do I answer this? What do I do with it?
Yes, 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 absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming on. I know you answered in late, but it's perfect that you came in, Alice, and bring your input. So I absolutely appreciate you. I am waiting for Julia to come back. If she's not by the time we end this call, I know that she has, there she goes. Let me bring her back in. Hey, love, she's probably driving again. But we are going to close out this session. It has been absolutely awesome. Sherry, I just want to thank you. I am so glad to know you. You are in my list of contacts just to continue to check up on you, see what's going on, what we can do together. This was powerful. She didn't know that this, you know, one conversation, what could this lead to? Thank you all who have been chatting with us on YouTube. I haven't checked Facebook because sometimes it doesn't work there. I don't know what's the problem in that universe. But this was so good. This was so powerful. And we need to just bring more topics and awareness to our communities and really give them these tips. You know, let's share what our experiences are. And what I loved about it is that not everyone had the same experiences and responses. So I love that we did it in a panel format. We're going to continue to do this. Sherry, what are your feelings? How did this all go? How do you feel?
Well, I thought it was amazing, but I love hearing the different perspectives, and you know, it just is a case in point of how we're all raised different. We all have different scenarios that run through our head, even presented with the exact same circumstances. We're all going to handle it different, and you know, I just hope that today the things that were shared by all the ladies on the panel, I hope that it's impactful for somebody, was helpful for somebody in an upcoming situation, that they will remember that they can respond in a different way rather than react potentially. So I hope that it's been helpful for those watching. It was wonderful for me.
Thank you for me as well. I will definitely watch this on replay for sure. Definitely can't wait to talk to my ladies on Monday. So if ladies of leadership, if you're watching, we're to bring this question on Monday for a quick 10-minute session at the beginning. So be online because I think it's just going to be a great conversation. I absolutely love and adore you ladies. Thank you so much for showing up as you always do. Thank you to tuning into another Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. And like I always say, make it count.